Greetings everybody, this is Leviathan here, and today I am bringing you my speed farm build for the Demon Hunter that I plan to use in Season 13. For those of you that have been following along with my progress as I've been releasing videos in the lead up to Season 13, you should know by now, I plan to start with the Demon Hunter. Love that shadow set, and it's going to be awesome to get us started, but here is what we ideally want to get into for the crux of our farming in Season 13. We want that UE setup with Multishot. You can see it's a UE cold Multishot build that I have, and I will definitely be getting into all the skills, gear, Paragon, everything you need to know, gem usage in order to get you to the top of the top and moving quickly and expediently when it comes to Season 13. You can see that this build really just mows through everything on the screen. It's all about AoE production. You put stuff in front of you and then you kill it very quickly. That's the name of the game here. We really are looking forward to getting this thing going. This version in particular does a great job of minimizing resource costs. So normally where Multishot might be a very greedy skill with the amount of attack speed that you can get to pump those multi-shots out, you can see that our hatred is barely moving here as we're throwing out constant multi-shots. So it's due to the setup and the way that we have everything going. And in this little video that I'm showing you, I took out all the dexterity from my Paragon, as you saw right at the start. So I'm trying to simulate having like decent gear, because the gear that I have is really good and it's also augmented, so it's hard to take some of that main stat off of the gear. I also have some pretty decent level gems in here, which you'll see in just a bit because I'm actually going to show you my gear. But I was basically trying to simulate what it would be like to get into a good spot as far as farming goes, but not be like overly ridiculously well geared, because this is something that you should be able to get into essentially as soon as you get your UE setup farmed and have all the right pieces. You should definitely be able to jump right into UE and get things going. So without further ado, we're going to kill this Greater Rift Guardian and then go ahead and pop into the game. So let's take a look at what we got. We'll start off with the skills so that you know what you're building. And let me go ahead and pause that over there. Skills. So as you can see, there's no generator in this because we are set. We are solid as far as having hatred concerns. We're good. So instead we take prep and vig, which is a staple, but we've moved it onto our left click kind of out of the way. You're mostly going to be using force move if you have that on your binding setups. I recommend putting it on your mouse scroll wheel so you can just scroll the mouse and then move around, as you can see that I'm doing here. So no need to left click, just scroll it on down. And that'll allow you to have prep there. And then whenever you get low on discipline, if you have to vault a lot or if you have to use your shadow power to keep that movement speed bonus up, then I would go ahead and pop preparation invigoration. But for the most part, you have it there as the passive to gain the 20 discipline due to the way that the Unhallowed Essence set does its damage. Next up, Multishot Wind Chill. This is the workhorse of the build. This is what's doing all your damage for you. You can see we're going with cold, like I mentioned previously, because it's going to help us affect and get our procs on Call the Weak and any other slows that we would need. So instead of having to use Thrill the Hunt, we can remove that passive, free up a passive, like you would in the Fire version, for example, and just have straight up Call the Weak. Skip the middleman. And Call the Weak also has a nice bonus to it in that when enemies are chilled, there's also an 8% increased chance to be critically hit for 3 seconds. So get some critical hit chance increase as well to aid in the one-shotting of everything. Next up, all your utility skills. Vault with Tumble. You guys should be familiar with this one. Move around the map very quickly. Low resource cost with the Tumble rune, etc. Good stuff. Shadow Power Glide. This is another utility skill that we can now fit in since we did take the generator out. And so this just gives us more movement speed when we activate it. 30% increased movement speed. And that's for 5 seconds. And then we have the Wolf Companion. This is something that eventually you could potentially change if you want to just remove a pet altogether. Find another utility skill. But I like to have the Companion just for a little bit of extra burst if you need it against like the Rift Guardian or Elites or whatever have you. Just nice to have some damage in there, but once you really outclass it, once you have very high Paragon, very high gem, great gear, probably won't need it. And then last but not least, Vengeance with Seethe. This is going to get us our hatred back and really keep us topped off on our needs for hatred. And of course, Vengeance itself gives us a nice multiplier to our damage. It's great. So go Vengeance, go Seethe. And we have 100% uptime on this due to the CDR requirements that are met when you have a Dawn in the cube. And we'll talk about the cube powers as well in just a moment. On the passive skills, we have Tactical Advantage, which gives you more movement speed whenever you activate Vault, Shadow Power, Smoke Screen. And we are using both Vault and Shadow Power, so this should pretty much be up all the time whenever you're moving around the map. 60% increased movement speed. There's so much movement speed in this build, it gets pretty insane. Hot Pursuit, also another utility passive. Increase movement speed by 20% for 4 seconds just when you hit an enemy, and even your wolf attacking things counts as a hit, so even if you weren't putting out any multi-shots, you would still get that 20% bonus, but of course you're going to be hitting all sorts of stuff. And then Ambush, which again is aiding in that one-shotting of things. Whenever enemies are above 75% health, you deal 40% additional damage to them, so you essentially want to just find fresh enemies, hit that multi-shot, just have all your damage come out in that singular burst, and hopefully they all die. So once they get below 75%, then this passive does nothing for you. And last but not least, like I was previously mentioning, Cull the Weak, a staple in a lot of Demon Hunter builds. This one just gets the damage out there. Increase damage against slowed or chilled enemies by 20%, and you remember, Wind Chill is going to chill the enemies. So that's it for the skills, and then we should also head over to the gear just to mention that we do have a Hellfire Amulet in this build, so you actually have a 5th passive working for you. I would definitely recommend the 4 passives that we just discussed, and then also trying to get Blood Vengeance in there. So you can mix and match, right? Just get whatever Hellfire Amulet that has these stats in particular, so cold elemental damage, critical hit chance, socket, and then you're going to want one of those passives. So if you can get Cull the Weak on there, then you know you equip Blood Vengeance, so on and so forth. You get it. If we look at the set itself, just in case you need to be familiarized with exactly what the Unhallowed Essence set does, 2-piece set bonus, generators generate 2 additional hatred and 1 discipline. That doesn't matter for us. 4-piece set bonus, gain 60% damage reduction and deal 60% increased damage for 8 seconds if no enemy is within 10 yards of you. Because this is multi-shot, a nice range build, this is pretty much going to be up all the time. You shouldn't be getting hit by anything, you shouldn't be close to anything, and so you just always have that extra defense and extra damage. And then the workhorse, I love that word, the workhorse of this set is the 6-piece set bonus. Your generators, multi-shot, and vengeance deal 100% increased damage for every point of discipline you have. And you can get discipline on multiple pieces. So we did mention, right, preparation, invigoration, you get that 20 permanent increase to your discipline just by having this passively on your bar. And then you want discipline on your cloak. So that's going to be your chest piece, your cloak. That's a secondary, so make sure you're always looking out for your secondaries to get that max discipline. You just want a value of it. The range is 9 to 12. If you get 12, great, but if you get even 9, that's fine. You just want to make sure it's there. You can get it on your quiver. So there you can see I have a 10, and that's fine. And then you can also get it on your bow, and you definitely want it there. You want it in all the places you can get it. So you normally have around something like high 80s, low 90s for your discipline. Those are good values to have. And then just looking at the pieces of gear that we touched on a little bit here. So for the shoulders, typical shoulders, Dex Vit All Res cooldown reduction. And I was mentioning previously that there is a CDR requirement to hit here. You want to have at least 37% cooldown reduction on your sheet. And that's going to give you 100% uptime on Vengeance as long as you have a Dawn in your cube. So the places that you're getting your CDR are the shoulders, like I was just showing you, on your gloves. And here you can see for gloves, we do Gloves of Worship. I'll talk about that in a second, with Dex, critical hit damage, critical hit chance, cooldown. And then on your quiver, you can get some cooldown reduction. So here I have Dex, attack speed, critical hit chance, CDR, and then this chance to bleed, unfortunately. You can see I got a great value for my multiplier on the legendary power. Multi-shot hits enemies below 6% health twice, and its damage is increased by 200%, so you know they reworked this in 2.6.1. This is why multi-shot is so much better now. And you want a really high value. It ranges from 150 to 200. You want to aim for that 200. Unfortunately, that meant I had to take this crappy bleed affix, and that's why I haven't even augmented this yet, because I'm hoping to get a better one. But ideally, instead of bleed, you'd want multi-shot damage, which you can get another 15% roll of right there. And those are your CDR spots. And then if you also have a Flawless Royal Diamond in the Helm, and also have your CDR maxed out in Paragon, then that means you're going to be good to go getting towards that 37% for your CDR. For the Helm, you want Dex, critical hit chance, multi-shot damage, and then a socket. That's going to be your standard on that, so you can get a nice roll of multi-shot there. For the affixes on Cloak, we already talked about the max discipline, but for your primaries, Dex, Vit, all res sockets. Pretty standard stuff. For the belts, very standard, Dex, Vit, all res life percent. This is a gold wrap, and we do have the combination of items to help us with gold being our defense, so you really never have to worry about dying or getting hit hard, because you have this gold wrap, which gives you increased defense as you keep picking up gold, and then we also have an avarice band in the build, which allows us, as we pick up gold, to get a bigger and bigger pickup radius, which actually helps a ton with the T13 specificity of being very efficient, because you'll pick up all the gold, you'll pick up all the orbs from the elites in particular, which is very useful to us. And then that picking up of the gold just keeps fueling the gold wrap for better and better defense, and then nothing hurts you. And we have a Boon of the Hoarder as our gem, you know, as close to max as you can get. Not too hard to max this out these days, by the way. And that's going to guarantee that gold drops from all the enemies that you kill. So these three things just work in conjunction to continuously feed your defense and also feed your efficiency to pick up the orbs when you kill the elite, so you don't have to run around after each of them. I did briefly touch on Gloves of Worship before. I like having these in the build just because you do come across shrines from rift to rift. They're not consistent, so there might be some rifts, especially in short bursts when you're doing just a few rifts. These gloves may not have a lot of value for you, but if you're doing a lot of rifts back to back to back to back, then you can actually get some pretty good usage out of Gloves of Worship, because then you can come across shrines like Frenzied, Fleeting, or Empowered. All those are really great for the build, just more attack speed, more run speed, or not ever having to worry about your resources or cooldowns ever again. So that's all good stuff. For the pants, typical pants, Dex, Vit, all res sockets. On the boots, Dex, Vit, all res multi-shots. This is another source we can get multi-shot. And that's good there. Talked about the quiver. The other ring is a Stone of Jordan. I had also tried out a Retro's Ring of Larceny, but I never saw that it was proccing the Fear, which would be great because it would get you more movement speed. And at some point, you're going to have enough damage where you don't even really need a Stone of Jordan. So if you can find another ring option, then you might want to experiment. But I found this was clearly a great choice when you're not doing focus and restraint, because you get the cold skill element there. You can roll for increased critical hit damage, and then you get the elites damage, so that's going to help you kill the elites faster, kill the Rift Guardian faster. All those things add up very nicely for you. And there's a Zai's Stone of Vengeance in there, because again, we're playing from range. We're never going to be super close to mobs, so more damage the further we are away. And I didn't mention it, but we do have a Bane of the Powerful as our third gem. And again, more help with killing elites. We get that damage bonus after an elite dies. If you have a high level one, it will last for your entire rift. Like that last rift was about 2 minutes. That means we literally just needed to kill one elite and we had it for the whole time. But of course we kill more than that. We're always refreshing this thing. So that's another great gem to throw in there. If you don't want to use Bane of the Powerful, you can always go with Bane of the Trapped as well. And you'll have an activation on that because cold multi-shot. There you go. And then for the bracers, I went with Nemesis bracers. You could also swap in like Warzekian arm guards here if you think that that would be a good option for you just to get more movement speed. You're going to hit a ton of breakables in your rifts, so that could be an option to consider. But Nemesis bracers just work in great tandem with what we're trying to do, which is find those shrines, hit the shrines, get more elites, kill the elites, get the orbs, win. So definitely make sure you have a nice pair of Nemesis bracers. You can always cube the power of the Warzekian arm guards if you so choose, if you feel like it. And that's like if you were not going to cube a Pride's Fall or something like that, which is the actual other item that we do have in the cube, which I'll talk about in a moment here, because we still haven't discussed the bow, the thing that brings it all together, Yang's Recurve. So on the Yang's Recurve, this is a primal one. This is a primal example, a prime example of exactly what you want for your bow. So, you know, max base damage, damage percent, dexterity, attack speed, resource cost reduction, that max discipline on the secondary, and then for the multiplier, which they added in 2.6.1 on the Yang's Recurve, Multishot attacks 50% faster and its damage is increased by 200%. This also ranges You don't see the range on a primal, do you? It also ranges from 150 to 200, so you want that high side on that one as well. But yeah, getting a primal is legit. When you're farming just regular T13, the dex is great. Maybe in Greater Rifts, you would roll the dex to area damage here. That's my only other consideration. You can see I haven't rolled anything because it's just beautiful the way it is. And then talking about those cube powers, so like I mentioned, Dawn in the cube for that resource cost reduction, or sorry, the cooldown reduction on Vengeance by 65%, and then all you need is that 37% on Sheet to get 100% uptime on Vengeance. And then in the armor slot, I was mentioning there are a bunch of options you can go for. Pride's Fall here, so your resource costs are reduced by 30% after not taking damage for 5 seconds. This is nice because since normally you might want to try like a Cinder Coat if you were going with the fire version, we're not doing fire, so we want that resource cost reduction still, so Pride's Fall fits right into that. And we really don't get hit all that often because we're, again, at range killing most things in one shot before they even get to us. And then last but not least, in order to wear another piece that's not part of the UE set, we have the Ring of Royal Grandeur, and then that's what allows us to shift around, right? So if we weren't going to use the Gloves of Worship, we take those off, put some UE gloves on, then maybe equip a Pride's Fall, and then we would be able to remove the UE Helm, and that's all moved around, giving us that mutability due to the Ring of Royal Grandeur. Another thing I did want to mention is that there is some movement that you can do in the belt slot. So let's say instead of a gold wrap, you want, I don't know, something else, right? You feel like your defense is fine. You could go for a Witching Hour, just more damage output if you feel like your damage is lacking. You could even try a Chrom's buff belt, because that would fit into the whole motif of not getting hit and then keeping up that bonus. So you would get the movement speed on that one. For those of you who are unfamiliar with it, I can show you in the cube real quick. Chrome's a buff belt. It's fun to say. This guy right here gained 25% run speed. This effect is lost for 5 seconds after taking damage. So just another consideration to make. And then quickly we'll go ahead and talk about the Paragon Priorities. You can see, like I mentioned, we didn't have any points in our dexterity, just to give you that simulation of not being super duper overpowered just yet. Movement speed maxed out. And then here in offense, I would go with cooldown reduction first, because that's going to be super important to reach that breakpoint for Vengeance. And then I would go maybe like critical hit damage, critical hit chance, and then attack speed. Defense, I would go all res, and then maybe life percent, and then armor, and then life regen. It doesn't matter too much, but definitely all res first. And then for utility, I would probably go area damage, resource costs, life per hit, gold fine. Again, doesn't matter too much here either. And that's really what's going to do it for you for the Demon Hunter for my T13 cold UE multi-shot farming. I'm going to be running this a ton in Season 13, so feel free to stop by the stream. You can see it in the top left, twitch.tv/Leviathan111. On Friday, when Season 13 starts, kicks off, February 23rd, coming up, I will be running a 24-hour marathon. I'll be running with Level with a Cause, which is Wolf Crier's community fundraising event. If you guys don't know about that, I'll be putting out another video that will discuss my full Season 13 starting plans and everything like that, how I plan to level and whatnot. So if you want to see that, make sure you subscribe to the channel so that you can check it out. I also did want to note that there is a Diablo fans guide for this build. You can go ahead and check that out. I will put a link to that in the video description. So if you like the written form a little bit better, then you can go ahead and look at that. There'll also be a link back to this video, so you can just keep going in a loop forever and ever. But yeah, man, I want to hear from you guys. What are you planning to play? If you're going to do Demon Hunter, you're going to try this build out. What do you want to do? What set would you like to focus on for your Demon Hunter? Or what set are you just looking forward to in general? What's got you pumped about Season 13? Let's hear it. Sound off in the comments. And I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Stay tuned. Season 13 soon. Hype, 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 hype. Check out more videos.